So, with all of this wonderful background, we now invite our audience into the conversation.
Yeah, well, first I want to say, Daniel, here, next time someone asks you about a job and so forth, you can ask them if they know anybody who's been touched by black lung. Mm-hmm. Might get your attention.
Okay.
You know what black lung is? Okay. Where are you from?
I'm from New York originally.
Okay.
They have black lung there.
Anyway, but I'll ask my question again to you. You're talking about balances of insects, pestilence type of thing, and fungicide and so forth, and insecticides, this type of thing. What do you do, for example, when you have like a blight, like several years ago, we had a whole lot of Japanese beetles come through. Mm-hmm. Our chestnut forests have been decimated by blight. Mm-hmm. We have now the emerald ash borer. Mm-hmm. So when you have these type of epidemics, do you have a countermeasure for those type of things?
I don't, but I believe that the preventative medicine is again the soil and the air and the water that the forests and the tree stands grow in. And I do know my husband has quite a bit of forest land, woodlands, and he hasn't seen the ash borer. And I think his woods are primarily ash borer, and it's a couple thousand acres. And he hasn't seen that yet. And I know that these are real problems, and I don't know what the on-contact solution is, but I think I know what the causes are. It's not the borer, just like how it's not the disease or the infection itself, but it's the lack of health that's not coming, the nutrition that's not coming from the soil, the water, and the air. I think that's where we can do something. I don't know that we can do something once the ash borers overtake.
Because even the conventional methods don't have a control for ash borers at this point, you know.
Yeah,
or the chestnut
point here is that every now and then we get these infestations. You may have a Japanese ladybug in your house nowadays too. Mm-hmm. When these things start coming through, are there any countermeasures, natural countermeasures to balance it? I know I grow grapes, so I know that they're exotic because of European varieties, but we do have natural varieties which are now hybridizing that are resistant or immune. Mm-hmm. So there's a movement now in the East, in the U.S. anyway, of using these because they are naturally resistant or immune. Mm-hmm. And why didn't we do it before? Economics, because nobody buy the damn grapes. But now they do. Okay, so it's changing. So it's a mindset. The mindset is changing in that regard. But then again, we still have to adapt. Then what can we do for these other pestilence that come through? I mean, we got a lot of deer. We're like hunters.
I mean, I think sometimes if you're outnumbered. I mean, sometimes if there's a huge overgrowth of a certain insect, then I think it just might be a goner from any standpoint. But there's other organic, like diatomaceous earth, and there's other like smaller controls that I think organic gardeners use that aren't chemical related. But if there's just a gajillion Japanese beetles bearing down on you, sometimes you're just going to lose everything.
Yeah.
No matter what.
There's a lot of natural product, and we use them once in a while, but I do think that insect is drawn to a weak plant. Mm-hmm. I'd never think other. I believe that if you can have an infestation in a location, and if your plants are really healthy, they won't even see your plants. And that's been true with the corn crops. I mean, there's people run into trouble and then other farmers don't, and the whole area is infested with an insect, and certain farms won't get it, and those farms are using more of a whole system to fertilize, for instance. So yeah. So I do think it's nutrition ultimately. I don't think we know all the answers. I certainly don't.
Anybody else from the audience want to chime into the conversation?
Can I respond? I just wanted to say that I think that part of it is about a longer term planning approach and thinking about not just how to treat an infestation. I mean, obviously, if there's an infestation, that's an immediate problem. But kind of getting away from the mindset that is focused on a kind of like a one-shot deal, and thinking about how to have, for instance, with forest maintenance, how to have, I know folks who are in this area right now who are thinking about the ash borer is probably coming. Most all signs point to yes. Let's think about a sustainable forest maintenance plan that would help create the conditions so that, even if we have this infestation that wipes out the ash population, that we've created conditions that other species can thrive and survive. And I mean, I know I'm picking on that. But that's, and then the other thing, just what you said about, going to whatever the kind of local variety is, whatever the heirloom or the native plant species is, and thinking about what kinds of characteristics do those native varieties bring, and figuring out ways to hybridize, and building your markets so that people can buy those. But you already know all that anyway.
There's been some kind of good news on that front. This has turned into the emerald ash borer.
We really wanted to be talking about food and health is what we wanted to be talking about, but
That's right. And there you go. Well, of course, it's something that happens from a global economy. They didn't come here because they bought a ticket. I mean, they came over here because we have a very fluid markets, and goods and services flow. That's why they're here, and they've been able to find a very for them a great home because there are no natural predators. However, there has been some recent research that says that the woodpeckers are starting to find them, and like I read recently that in some stands that they've been able to wipe out as much as like 80% of them, of the larvae, which is pretty heartening. I guess they just took them a while to find them. But also since we've had this winter, I've looked, and there is that everybody's chilling right now, but there's been some good from this polar vortex, bringing the cold weather down here, and that's surely wiped out a good bit of it.
I'm waiting to see what it's done to the kudzu.
Yeah.
The kudzu vine.
Yeah, and the thistle.
Yeah.
Well, if I could just turn that ecosystem comment into agricultural comment. That when you're talking about the woodpeckers eating the borer, and that's a real ecosystem, which is also what Leia's saying, is to look at the whole system and strengthen it. That's just what biodynamics focuses on as an organic plus system. It's really looking at building, it views the farm as an ecosystem. And so it's a very holistic approach to organic agriculture. So I just wanted to mention that.
That's where it is.
I think too that one of the keys to having a sustainable food system, regardless of what the bug population is in any given year, is to have a lot of diversity in your products. I always go back to reading about the Indians in South America who developed a potato for every elevation. They had something like 40 varieties of potatoes. And they survived that way because when one failed, another one did well. And so local farming and local food production would do that for us. We wouldn't have 15 cans of corn all from one field in Kansas, all treated the same way in a monoculture. We'd have people growing lots of different kinds of corn. And if one variety didn't work, if the early spring variety didn't do well, then maybe the fall variety would. So that's the key, and I think a lot of times is diversity of, and I'm sure you know that, that's part of it. When you garden, you can just about bet that of everything you put out, probably 2 or 3 of them are not going to do anything. You just have to plow them up. One of them will give you more than you can absorb, and you have to give it away, and it's usually the zucchini. And it's a every year it's a new experience, so.
I think people need to get, you said a word, monoculture, that I was just thinking about.
Right.
That's something that maybe people don't think a lot about. It boggles my mind that people think they need to pay to have their lawns sprayed to get rid of the violets. Or even dandelions.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
They're the
It's
best.
For a little while, it's not even a problem at all. But you know, as this relates to food, that's been a big problem with bees. Bees, which we need for pollination, for food, and a lot of other things. And we've turned. You look in you know, subdivisions. Not to pick on subdivisions, but it seems like that's where you tend to see grass that's all perfectly emerald, like a golf course. And for what? To what end? I mean, why is that worth that people spend their money on it? Just boggles my mind. But it has implications in our food system. Just try doing it without bees.
Right.
And I've been really struck by the parallels that you're drawing between the internal human body and the external ecosystem. Many Kentuckians that I've met only eat 3 vegetables: carrots, green beans, and peas. No, won't touch another vegetable. If you don't eat any other vegetable besides those 3, then your body is not getting all the nutrients that it needs.
And they won't eat them unless they're cooked a lot more than you.
Right.
Right.
And they only eat potatoes fried.
Which takes out some more nutrients.
So the lack of what's the opposite of monoculture?
Diversity.
Diversity internally in the way we feed ourselves, and externally in the crops that we grow, in the ways that we deal with our lawn, in the ways that we deal with our forests. It's all connected, you know. If you have a healthy immune system, you're not going to get the flu. You're not going to get the whatever diseases. And if the external environment is, if the soil is healthy and the water is healthy and the air is healthy, the plants aren't going to get the diseases. But I think we've moved so far away from understanding the world that way. We've compartmentalized everything. You know, so there's food over here, and there's medicine over here, and there's whatever. So it's how we get ourselves back into seeing it all whole. That's the challenge, and it probably means starting with our youth more than with our generations. Just helping them to understand it better, but they're so busy looking at their electronic gadgets that it's hard to even begin to get their attention.
I think when people came to Kentucky, some of those people that came and established those sports were actually like land developers, like modern day real estate agents. And it was really crowded on the East Coast, so people started moving in. The Indians were savages, so they came in and got drunk and killed each other after they got rid of the Indians. But I think the population has always moved in a direction of more and more people, and I think that has caused a need for convenience and more activity going on in the sense of commerce. In some places there were towns where they were created with small farms, but then there were other places where people relied on what they could get from the town. And I guess not too long ago, we had markets like they do in Europe, where every day people shop for fresh foods and meats, but eventually more and more people came.
Sure.
I think we're looking at 9 billion people by 2050, so that's quite a few people, and I don't think all those people are going to have gardens. But it's a continuous escalation that's absorbed a lot of new technology in a way that hasn't been to its benefit. And like Daniel said, you know, money is just another bad habit. It's things people acquire along the way, and people begin to change their traditions and learning about the environment of what's in the dirt and the environment that's in our gut. Boy, you see pictures of coal miners, you know, fighting, and and people that are fighting to not get the mountaintops blown up in eastern Kentucky. And it overwhelms me. There might be one person that looks healthy, and a lot of other pictures have Diet Pops and potato chips, and that doesn't create a very good flora in your stomach. And I think it exemplifies the rest of your life surroundings. And I think what we do is just more or less a balance of that. If we're going gardens and try to maintain our health, I think that helps balance. But to spread the word, I don't know. That's a tough one. A lot of people become your enemy if you try to talk to them about certain issues.
That's true. That's true.
I think a good example I saw was in Transy last week, and this friend that teaches there, I noticed that I felt more like I was at a Montessori school, and people were allowed to engage on their own, not because they're being dictated or having certain criteria to account for, that they are actually being human beings and they're being creative. And I think it's probably the same way with foods and gardens, to allow children to be able to go out. But I think there's just so many parents that don't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see their kids get good test scores. And I think people do that because the money people have made that easy for them to not have to be bothered with a lot of issues that should be bothered with. It's asking a lot for people to engage more and more, like to try to stop the damn pipeline. Well, we can't even, utilize good technology to keep our streams clean. We've been working on that for years. And, it's an endless brick wall that we have. I don't know. Civil disobedience is probably a good thing. It doesn't hurt to dismantle bulldozers and other things like that.
Start. Well, coming back to the Springfield Green Festival, the hope is that that's an event that will be fun for people, that will be a community gathering kind of thing, but also that a place where people can learn more or be awakened more or pay more attention to. So what would some of your ideas be? Daniel and I are on the committee, as is James, and I guess that's every of the people here. What would be some of the things you'd love to see happen at a Springfield Green Festival that would help all of us to become more aware of and have more fun with and learn new ways to care for this beautiful place we call home?
What kind of vendors do you have scheduled now? Do you have, what you're thinking?
We think we have a
What kind of
geothermal
vendors?
vendor and a solar vendor, and we have plant vendors, and we'll have seeds, and we'll have new technology garden tools that make gardening easier and more fun.
Kentucky beer.
Kentucky
And wine. And wine.
What about
Kentucky
a
wine.
canning demonstration?
A canning demonstration? Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Maybe the extension office might be interested in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. I think for demonstrations we have a spinner.
We have a spinner. We have a beekeeper. I'm going to do a mushroom growing demonstration.
Okay. Making compost is another one.
Yeah.
Making tinctures.
Repurposing stuff instead of going out and buying things. Do you have something, that you would recycle that actually could be used very effectively for a different purpose?
Maybe you could have a contest for the children to bring in something they had recycled and give a prize for the best idea or something.
Okay, a contest would be a good idea. Alita?
The school children, remember how you organize the them to the recycling logo. Well, if they could do a little play about the whole ecology of life, you know, some little kids could be bugs and others could be
Nice, it'd be good.
That would be fun.
That would be fun.
That would be really fun. And that would get the adults there, because if your child is in the play, then not only you, but the grandparents and godparents and cousins and everybody else would show up too. Yeah.
Maybe you could organize that through, well, no, there's no grade school biology classes, but I don't know. That seems like something you'd have to have a teacher in on, class.
This is like the mustard seed right here. It's such a small group. There's all these empty chairs, but such wisdom, you know, if we could just spread what we've partaken of here tonight. I just wish I had a tape recorder. That's great.
Well, the video will be on cable channel 6 many times in the coming weeks, and then within a week or so it will be on the New Pioneers website, so you will be able to watch it again if you want to, if you don't remember everything you wanted to remember.
It is to direct people to that.
But the Green Fair is such a nice opportunity for people to just meet. I don't get out much. I just I commute to the farm, and then I'm on the farm at home. So to be able to meet people in our community, and that means so much to me. Just like-minded folks.
Yes.
Yeah.
You enjoy the cows too much.
I do. I'm so guilty of that. I hated to give up my evening milking tonight.
And we will have great music. We've got a number of different music groups, and we will have locally grown beef being cooked by the Cattlemen's Association.
Wow.
Different types of, like
I will
brisket.
possibly be off in a corner cooking veggie burgers for anybody who goes that way.
Good, Daniel. Do
We'll
that.
see. Yeah.
And no pop. We'll have lemonade and water and wine and beer. So, we're hoping it'll be a really fun event, but also an opportunity for folks to meet each other, as you said, to meet like-minded people, and also to learn and experience other aspects of sustainability. So.
Local wine, local beef as well.
It's an all-day affair?
10 to 6
10 to 6?
on Saturday, April 26th, the Saturday after Easter.
Saturday before Derby.
The Saturday before Derby, after Easter and before Derby, right. Right. Well, we can't thank you enough. This has been a very excellent forum.
These forums are so wonderful and so enlightening and entertaining, and it's great.
Yay.
And all of the panelists are people from right in our own community.
That's what's so great.
And often we don't understand. I was saying to someone today, I mean, we have incredibly gifted people in this area. Healers, people who understand all kinds of aspects of agriculture and gardening that most people don't know anything about. Just a whole lot of different types of skills and gifts that sometimes I think, and I don't come from Kentucky, so I probably have more awareness of this than Kentuckians do. Sometimes Kentuckians suffer from an inferiority complex because many people keep saying, well, poor state and the highest obesity and the most smokers, and we emphasize all the bad things about this state without recognizing the incredible giftedness of the people of this state. And so as we get to know each other, we get to appreciate more the richness that's the fabric of our community, and I think that's wonderful.
I just want to thank Martha for setting the stage, the historical stage, because I think that is what the whole evening is about.
I'd like to make one more comment. When Daniel was talking about money and how it is the opposite of what the kind of culture that we would like to see. I listened to an interview on NPR, and it struck me with an idea that I had not thought of before, and so I want to share it. This was a man who had been a six-figure income person on Wall Street, and he changed his life around and left it all, and he made the point that this culture of more money and more expansion and more selling and more business, all the Wall Street mantra, is not sustainable. You cannot keep making more things and selling more stuff and making more money forever. We have to learn to live within what we need, and that's all. And it's back to Wendell again, you know. So, but I had never really thought about that before. This whole thing of buy more, sell more, the whole commercial aspect of our culture is not sustainable.
Pay for money.
It's
At
it's
least
a
you know it'll
pipe
end at
dream.
some point.
Yeah, I just thought it was really interesting to hear this man who'd been in the very thick of it say that. So,
Consumption.
There, somebody posted, I guess on Facebook last night, Cabin a home, and saying the trend is to smaller homes and more energy efficient, and it was a really neat little 400 square foot RV that was, it was exquisitely appointed, don't get me wrong, I mean, it was not prefab or anything like that that you might expect, but it didn't have a heating system, and it was in the New England woods. It had a fireplace. And they didn't need a heating system. Because of the size and the efficiency. So people are thinking, you know, they're, I think it's here and there and here and there, and there's no, once we all got coordinated, who knows?
Well, on that good word, we say thank you again. Thank you for coming. And